How's it going, all you COs, hacks, turnkeys, screws, officers, whatever you want to call yourself? Salty CO again. Today's topic is going to be dealing with mental health inmates. Sorry if my camera's a little screwy. Still using my phone. There we go. It's humid out, and you can see we're about to get some weather here. But yeah, dealing with mental health inmates. Most trying group there is. I've worked 17 years in corrections, and in those 17 years, both institutions I worked at had mental health units. The one previously, they hand-selected staff to work at the psych unit, and I was one of the officers to work in that unit because of my, I guess you could say, ability to leave what's in the past and move forward, treat each day like a new day, which I think is the best thing in the world. Treat every day like a new day. Forget about things. Don't hold grudges, especially when it comes to staff and people, but especially mental health inmates, because they don't know what they're doing. So they could be trying. You can sit there and try to redirect them, and it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. Currently, I'm working in our mental health locked unit at my institution, and I have one inmate who gets in his head that he has thinking pains. And those thinking pains, to him, manifest as a real pain. And I try to redirect him, talk to him, do all kinds of things. And every once in a while it works. I tell him a dad joke. Tell him other jokes. Simple things. He's not, his mental ability is not very high. I believe it's might have been from huffing spray paint. I mean, you can get all that. But when he's having that brain pain, he starts hitting his head, beating against the wall and the door, which, can lead to all kinds of other issues. Oh, he cut his head open. Now we have to put him in, restraints. We have to put him on watch because he's self-harmful. And he's screaming and pounding and wanting more meds. And the meds he's already had are just waiting to work. And that can get frustrating. I have had other inmates that hallucinate. And I had one guy once that he had such strong auditory and visual hallucinations and physical that he thought he was wrestling the Big Show in his cell, getting raped by a horse. You name it, fighting Muhammad Ali. I saw that one day. And I didn't believe it until one day I saw him pants down around his knees, kneeling on his bed, screaming, telling us to get the horse off him. So you have the gamut. Then you have the ones that are just needy. The ones that are just will take every bit of attention you can give them and sap all your energy away. And those ones are the tough ones. Those ones are the ones that drive you insane. I have one right now that he will do everything he can to take attention. He wants attention, up to and including saying he will hurt himself. And then as soon as you go to move him to observation because he's self-harmful, he screams that I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to hurt myself. No, that's not what I said. You misheard me. Well, no, man, you said I have suicidal thoughts. Didn't mishear you. You're going into observation. And, so there's 4 hours of my night tied up, having to watch an inmate turning around and say that. So while that's happening, I have to follow policy, and one of us has to sit there and watch him if the cell doesn't have a camera, because they're all single-celled where I'm at in this unit. So one of us has to sit there and watch him if there's no camera, while the other one goes and calls the nurse, and then the nurse has to call the doctor that's on duty, it's on call, psychiatrist, psychologist, and wait for an answer from them. And then I have to call my supervisor and tell my supervisor that, hey, he's self-harmful, and then I have to move him to a new cell that's stripped clean. Then I got to go and do a visual search on him, put him in a smock, give him the suicide blanket. For those of you that have seen those are always fun. They never want to Velcro shut. And then put him in that cell. And in this time, I have to deal with getting him out of his cell, Now he doesn't want to come out, so now he's going to be resistant. So now does that mean I'm going to have to put him on the ground? No, well, I got to use the force. Or am I able to talk him down? And, sometimes I can. I've done it before. I've talked this one individual down. And because he didn't like the options I gave him. It was go into the shower, do the search, put the smock on, go to the new cell. Or we're going to put you in the shower, get more staff, drag you to that cell, cut your clothes off, and you're still going to be on watch. And he didn't like that choice. He thought I was threatening him. And I'm like, dude, that's not a threat. That's a promise. I have to do this. You have to go through these steps. You are going on watch. You have no choice. So it gets trying. It gets frustrating. There's plenty of times I'm at the end of my shift and I just want to go home. I just want to go to bed. And I just feel mentally drained. And the best thing that I can tell you, best piece of advice when it comes to dealing with mental health, is find the humor. Find the things in their behavior that can make you laugh. So you're laughing at their expense. Fine. But don't lose your humanity when it comes to it. I thought I was dead inside for my years of doing this. And, I am jaded. There's no denying it. I'm jaded. You can't work in corrections dealing with that kind of people day in, day out. Just general inmates, and not get jaded about society and life and everything else. But I thought I was jaded when it came to mental health inmates too. Until one day, when I was working at my last agency, we had this inmate come in, and he had gone off his meds. So he got him from the state pen to our institution. If you haven't figured it out, it's a state agency. So we get him there, and we were doing forced medication. He had to take his medication 3 times a day. And there the policy was the inmates have to come out of their cell. When they're in the secure area, we handcuff them in front, bring them out of the cell. So that way the nurses can look at them while they get take their meds. And kind of give them a once-over for the day. Well, this guy didn't want to come out of his cell. Okay. Well, there, all our line staff are lined up, taught when you're in basic how to do calculated use of force teams, force cell extraction teams, so many different names for the same thing. You get 5 staff in suits with armor, helmets, and you enter the cell, put the inmate on the ground, restrain them, and then do what you have to do. Move them, give them medication, what have you. So they were using line staff on this guy. And line staff were going in, they were hitting him full speed. The guy wasn't fighting. But they hit him full speed, he'd go flying across the cell. Or they'd grab him, push him into the concrete, and smash his face between their helmet and the wall. Then they'd slap the cuffs on. And they're doing that 3 times a day, 7 days a week. You ever wear handcuffs? They suck. Having them slapped on every single day, 21 times a week. His wrists got raw. And it got to the point where the inmate's sitting there going, I want to come out. I want to take my meds. But it hurts my wrists to put the handcuffs on. I can't put the cuffs on. So then it was a refusal. So they'd have to do the 4-cell team again. And as I'm watching the first time, a couple of times, I'm like, oh, they got him good. Oh, look at his head bounce. By the end, I think it was probably just a month later, I'm watching it, and I'm like, this is excessive. It's kind of bullshit. Pardon my language, but that's what I thought. It's like, this guy wants to come out. This guy wants to take his meds. He wants to do the right thing. But you guys have messed him up so bad that he can't. Fortunately, that agency, that facility at that point, after that happened, they decided to limit that to just our special operations response team, which I was part of, because we knew how to gauge our response based on the inmate. Inmates just standing there and not being assaultive, just standing at the door, we're going to go in, we're going to grab him, control him, put him on the ground, and apply the restraints. But we're going to probably do it at like maybe 80% speed. I don't know if the guy is like violent, aggressive, and agitated. We're going to do 100% speed, and he's going to leave the ground. He's going to fly across the floor as we push him into the corner. But in this case, this guy didn't need it. And there's other times we had inmates who would just lay on the ground. So we'd lay on the, he'd lay on the ground. We'd enter the cell, walk in, kneel down, put the restraints on, roll him over, do it. So that showed me I still have humanity. I still have a part of me that's a decent human being that doesn't think that we need to be abusing inmates. And, it's the joys of mental health. You have the guys take their meds, the guys that don't take their meds. You got the guys that are decent. You got the guys that are dunderheads and full of rocks and stupid. You got the ones that try your patience day in, day out. All I can tell you is don't lose your humanity when dealing with them. And find the humor. There's always something they do that's funny. Even if it's something like, well, you got the obscene stuff, like the guys that eat their own poop. And you got the guys who, we had a guy that he actually, down there, in those little dangly bits, cut a slit, and it healed, and he had a little pocket that he would shove stuff in. He'd pull that rock out that he took from the rec yard, or from the rec cages, little piece of concrete, and he'd start going, deet, 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 deet. Just little superficial cuts, nothing that would hurt him. Just to get attention. You have that. You have other guys that turn around and they just scream at their voices. So, find the humor. Find a way to cope with the BS. And most importantly, stay safe and watch each other's backs.